as I said, I'm Carolyn Ray, for those of you I haven't met, and I am the CEO of JourneyWoman. If you're new to JourneyWoman, maybe this is your first webinar that you've attended with us. This is a series that we've been doing all year looking at cultural immersion. So we've looked at food and festivals, and next month we're going to be looking at national parks. So we're trying to explore less traveled destinations, but also from a different perspective and looking at some of our interests and the things that we enjoy doing. And I know for myself, when I first started, well, I shouldn't say that. When I decided to travel the world, which is in 2018, and got rid of everything I owned to travel, I had a big map on my rented apartment wall, and I researched all the UNESCO sites. I could, you can download the list. And so I did that, and I researched all of them, and I decided where I wanted to go. And I put sticky notes all over my wall, all over my map of all the places that I wanted to go. And so in preparation for this webinar, I went back to that list to see how many of those places have I been to, and how many unexpectedly have I been to, by the way. And I don't even think I've started to get started on the UNESCO list. There's over 1,200 UNESCO sites around the world. And so what we're going to do tonight is have a panel of experienced travelers and women that are going to share some of their favorites with you. And we hope that you'll share with us as well. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I want to introduce our panelists that are here joining me tonight, just have them come in and say a quick hello. So I will start with Katharine Butler, who's the CEO of Women Travel Abroad. Hi, Katharine, how are you?
Hi, doing well. Very excited to be here tonight with everyone.
Great. And Isabel Martin Benítez from the Embassy of Spain in Canada.
Hello to everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me, Caroline.
Oh, my pleasure. Now, anyone who's been reading JourneyWoman for a long time knows how much I love Spain. So very happy to have you here. And we also have Mary Collins from Far Horizons. Is Mary here?
Yep. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hi. Great. You made it.
Yeah. I realized my name was set up wrong, so you probably didn't realize I was trying to log in. But I'm here.
That's great. That's great. Let's have everybody on. Evelyn, could you put everybody on, and let's hear a little bit about what each of you has been up to and where you've been traveling to, and kind of what's happening in your worlds. And then we're going to show you some presentations. So each of us have some of our favorite UNESCO sites that we're going to share. And Mary, I'm going to start with you. Tell us a little bit about Far Horizons and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Mary Collins. I'm the CEO of Far Horizons. Far Horizons has a 40+ year history, which I'm very proud of. I actually acquired the company 3 years ago from the original founder. But our goal is to showcase destinations all over the world, but really through an archaeology and cultural lens. And so we bring on PhD scholars, and they kind of go with our guests the whole trip and kind of give a lot of insights, throughout. So, so we're really excited to be here, and thank you for having me.
Sounds amazing. And I should mention that both Mary and Katharine Butler-Dines, who I'm going to introduce next, are part of our Women's Travel Directory. If you haven't taken a look at it, it's a way for us to support women-owned businesses. So we have hundreds of businesses in there that cater to women and create really amazing experiences just for women. So Katharine, over to you. What's happening in your world?
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I'm Katharine. I am the CEO of Women Travel Abroad. And similar to Mary, the business has pre-existed me. We've been around since 2014. And I've been running the business for the past a little bit over a year. I come from the travel industry, having lived in Morocco and always had a passion for travel, and was really excited to return to the travel industry last year and running Women Travel Abroad. We provide small group boutique women's group trips. All of our trips are single occupancy by default. We never charge a single supplement. And we go all over the world. We're headed to 23 different countries in 2025, and hopefully going to be reaching 30 countries in 2026.
Amazing. Amazing. All these entrepreneurs, it's great. And Isabel, tell us what Tourism Spain is up to and what your focus is this year.
Well, I am the director of the Spanish Tourist Office here in Canada, and we try to promote that Canadian people go to Spain and discover new places. And for me, it's very exciting to be here today because I will show you something special, not the traditional places. And as you talk about the things that you had in the maps when you thought about long year ago about the sites, I thought about Spain and the map of Spain, and I will show you something like this today.
Oh, great. Great, great, great. Awesome. So I'm going to start off with a little presentation of some of the places that I've been to recently, because I've had the opportunity to go to some pretty less traveled places. And then we're going to move on to Mary, Katharine, and then Isabel. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat as we go through. And then we'll also take some questions at the end. And of course, do share, because we want to hear about your experiences too. And after all of this, this is being recorded. We'll send out an email with all kinds of contact information and links and things like that. So just sit back and enjoy, and just imagine all the amazing places that you're going to go after this webinar. So let me pull up my presentation. Hopefully I can get this all to work. Can we see this? Yes? Okay, great. So quickly, just about JourneyWoman. I know I mentioned some of this at the outset, but we are celebrating our 31st year. We are a women's travel website, but we also do a lot of other things. So we're looking to support women and women-owned businesses. And we have, at the moment, about 25 writers working for JourneyWoman, and all professional travel writers who are 50 and over. So really experienced professional travel writers. And we're really trying to advocate for a sustainable way to travel. So this is why we focus on less traveled places, off-season travel, and longer stays, which is going to be a really big focus for us coming up in the next few weeks. And then recently we've launched a new book. If you're on our mailing list, hopefully you got our email about that on Sunday. And I hope you all will take a look at that and think about supporting us for that. And then we launched last year for our 30th anniversary, the JourneyWoman Awards for Women Over 50. So we're doing a lot of, and a speakers bureau as well. So we're doing a lot of things to try and support women in travel and advocate for women in travel. You've met our speakers tonight, so I'll just carry on for now. And I wanted to share with you quickly a little bit about UNESCO, in case you're not familiar with what it is. But there are 1,223 properties, UNESCO properties, all around the world. They've just added 24 new sites in the past year. And there's lots of benefits of being associated as a UNESCO World Heritage property. Of course, it helps a lot with tourism, but also these are really about protecting and conserving sites that are of a very important heritage and culture, which I'll talk about in just a moment. And there are 10 countries that have the most sites, and the whole list is on UNESCO if you haven't had a chance to look at it. But of course, Italy has the most UNESCO World Heritage sites. And then we've got Spain with us today to talk about some of Spain's. And for the Canadians and Americans on the phone and the Australians, I just wanted to let you know how many each of our countries has. So kind of a tight match here. We're all kind of in the 20s. To be on the list, a site has to be of outstanding universal value. And there are 10 criteria, and I just put a couple of them here. There are many, many more, but if you have a chance, go to the website and just read each of the 10. It's really actually inspiring to think about the work that goes into choosing these sites, and you know, what we can learn from these sites, which is what we want to talk about today. So I wanted to talk about 4 places that I've been that are a little bit possibly off the grid a little bit. One is Romania. So I just came back from Sighișoara, which is in Transylvania. I spent about a week in Romania. And I had the opportunity to go to this city, which is almost a completely intact medieval city. And if you've been here, please do put it in the comments. I'd love to know if you've been to this city. But Romania, as you can see, it was a little chilly. It snowed. And I was not properly dressed for that. But so I'm wearing in this photograph everything I own pretty much, and had to buy a hat as well. But it's very, very picturesque. And what you see on the right is a clock tower that dates back 850 years. And the whole city is just beautiful, as you can see, very colorful. The yellow house on the right is actually the birthplace of Vlad the Impaler, who you may know is the inspiration for Dracula. And so I also went to Brant Castle and some of those places in Romania. But if you ever get an opportunity, I think Romania is one of these places that is still quite undiscovered. And as you can imagine, at this time of year, there weren't that many tourists there. So it was quite easy to go around, and no lineups and things like that. Another place that I went a few years ago was Malta. And Malta has, I believe, 7 megalithic temples. And what they have discovered, these are older than the Egyptian pyramids. So these are over 5,000 years old. And what you see on the left is a cover that they just put over these because they're starting to disintegrate. So they've got these enormous standing stones that were used for astronomy and all kinds of things. And Malta itself is Valletta itself is a UNESCO World Heritage Site as well. And what you see on the right is just one of the streets, but it's very, very pretty. It's all stone and limestone. And underneath Malta they've just opened up the underground of Malta. So you can go underneath and see where people were during World War II, because Valletta was the most heavily bombed city in all of Europe during World War II. So again, another amazing place that I really enjoy. And then Socotra is in the Indian Ocean, and not very many people go to Socotra. It's very hard to get to, but it's been a discussion on our Facebook group the last couple of weeks. So I just wanted to mention it because it does have this incredible biodiversity. They call it actually the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean. It's quite a unique place. And this beach that's on the left, our small group of people, we were about 20 and we came on a small ship. We're the only people to be seen forever. So just being able to be in a pristine place like this with nothing around is quite a thrill. And then the trees on the right are called dragon blood trees, and they only exist in a few places around the world. And Socotra has lots and lots of them, but they are also at risk because of the environment, because of climate change, and also because goats actually eat the baby trees, and they take hundreds of years to grow. So again, another amazing UNESCO World Heritage Site. And then my last one is Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. And it also is UNESCO World Heritage Site for its architecture. So what they're actually doing now in Jeddah is they're trying to, as you can kind of see on the right, they're trying to revitalize it because it hasn't really been looked after. And also tourism is new in Saudi Arabia, I think, as we all may know. So there's a lot of construction going on. And at the time that I was here, I think it was in October, again, I felt like the only person in town. And but really, really beautiful buildings, and places that many haven't seen yet because it hasn't been open to tourism. So those are my 4 places that I wanted to share with you as just kind of a little bit of inspiration of something different. And I'm going to turn it over to Mary so that she can share some of her favorite places with you. And as I said, do please put questions in the chat if you have any.
All right. Hello. Let's see if I can share my screen. Oh, it says send request. You might need to approve the request, I guess. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right. Just one second, guys. Okay, can you guys see that okay? Looks like yes. Excellent. All right. So I will say this was a very fun, I don't know, exercise to kind of think back to the UNESCO sites. And this one easily was like my top choice. So I had to start with this. So I'll be starting with Greece and then kind of moving into Central Asia. I was able to go with the Far Horizons group to Greece about 2 years ago. And for me, one of all of the sites are incredible, but one that really stood out was Meteora in Greece, obviously. It is in the Trikala, city of Trikala in the northwest of Greece. And it's basically a complex of about 24 different Eastern Orthodox monasteries. About 6 are still open to the public. They're obviously on these incredible cliffs, and I don't know if you'd call them mountains. I'm not a geologist. I'm not entirely clear on how these were formed, but the landscape alone is truly just breathtaking. I just have to say, this is literally a picture I took on my iPhone. This is not a stock photo. So just for what it's worth, it's definitely amazing to get out there and kind of see the landscape itself. I actually was literally standing in one of the monasteries, the Great Meteoran Monastery, taking a picture of this other monastery. I believe this one is called Monastery of Varlam. But they date back, I believe, to like about the 14th century. And actually a lot earlier than that. In the 11th century, hermits started living kind of in the caves of these mountain formations. And then over time, monks also came. And then as there was like political instability and things like that, they started to build out these monasteries, kind of, it seems like maybe for safety and protection and that kind of thing. They are just absolutely incredible to visit. And I think, Greece has so many amazing sites. But so many of them obviously are the Greek background and all the columns and the Colosseum and things like that. And so this one does just really stand out as such a different, just site to look at. It's located in a beautiful town as well. So you will have no problem finding amazing food and things like that. But definitely plan to spend the day. We actually went and it was like very rainy and foggy, as you can kind of tell there. And so we went up there and we were a little nervous, like, oh no, it'll be foggy and we won't be able to really see anything. And obviously, luckily, the clouds just kind of disappeared like magic. And, so maybe all of that magic is one of the reasons it's one of my favorites, but highly recommend going there. Let's see. So the next one, like I said, I'm going to head over to Central Asia. I also was lucky enough to join one of our groups on a Central Asia trip this past fall. And there are tons and tons of sites there as well, but the few that I wanted to highlight, this first one is Konya Ergenç. I tried to take a few notes. I'm going to do my best with the pronunciations. This one is in Turkmenistan. It's actually just south of the Turkmenistan-Uzbekistan border. So this was actually the last site that we visited before we went into Uzbekistan. It is basically an old city complex. It is kind of, if you look at the ground there, it is all flat. There's about 3 different very large structures that are still somewhat intact, as you can see. But most of them actually got destroyed around the time of Genghis Khan in 1221. And then I believe this one was actually rebuilt later. Let's see, I made a few notes around the 1300s, which makes sense. So this actually is Turabek Khanum Mausoleum, and it's actually dedicated to Turabek Khanum, who is a Mongolian princess. So I felt like since we were on a women's group, this would be a nice one to highlight. I wish I had a few more photos to include because the inside of this, the dome is actually still intact and all the tiles are still there. And they do kind of reference like there's something around like the 365 days are somehow represented in the tiles, and there's 12 columns, and so it's kind of referencing like the 12 months of the year and things like that. And you can see these 2 women. There are still locals that go and worship there. I did also want to include, you can see this little circle image in the corner. So it's interesting because it is a Muslim country, but there are a lot of maybe date even farther back, like local traditions related to religion. And one of which is, this is a prayer stick. And so the women would come and say their prayer and wrap their scarves around it. And so it's still there, but you do see, I guess, like signs that basically say like, please don't do that, because there's kind of a push to standardize like the Muslim religion across a lot of these countries. And so it is frowned upon, but you definitely still see it, which is, I respect that you still see that. So I did just want to kind of highlight that is kind of part of the culture right now going on. But again, there are about 3 different large buildings kind of in this structure that it's just an incredible place, and it is very off the beaten path. So we were very much the only, I guess, tourists or travelers there. And then otherwise it was just a handful of locals. So just a really cool way to see something. Again, like when you see it so remote, you know, you just kind of really get to experience it and take it in on your own. So, all right, like I said, we're going to stick to Central Asia. So the next one, this is also in Turkmenistan. So this is Iranian oasis, historically speaking, called Merv. You can see the name in the corner. And this is also a vast, a really, really huge site and very remote. It's right near the city of Mari, M-A-R-Y. And essentially it's these structures that are mostly, you know, intact-ish. There's about a handful of them in the entire oasis, but you do in Turkmenistan, just in general, for what it's worth, you have to have a local guide with you. So you will need to hire somebody to help you get there, and they just need to be with you. That's part of the process. I think you would probably want someone there to just kind of help you explain and hear what all the details are. But also this particular oasis is so spread out that you literally have to kind of keep your car nearby and drive from one of the complexes to the next. And so we spent the whole day there. So this particular one is the Great Kayez Kala. And you can see the little entranceway right there. We walked up and went into it, and it really drops down. So it's almost like, I guess, somewhat underground, and there's a ton of rooms that you can see kind of somewhat intact still. And they have a lot of scaffolding, of course, to hold it up. And then there are a few other of the kalas, which are fortresses, kind of nearby. And those you can walk to, but then otherwise you're going to have to get in the car or the van or what have you. So this one we did drive to, the one that's down in the corner. That is a mausoleum as well. It dates back to 1150, and it has been restored. So for sure, this is not how it always looked. I did see some photographs of what it looked like maybe around the early 1900s. And they've really done a fabulous job restoring it. And it is just really neat to be able to see these just in such a remote fashion, so that, you know, if you're by yourself in a place like this, it's just a really neat experience. And you are able to see just kind of how large some of these Central Asian cities would have been. So I know I read around the 1200s, close to 500,000 people were living in this city. So it's just massive. And it does also give you, especially from like an archaeology standpoint, just gives you a sense of how much more there is to uncover, right? Like these are all kind of living spaces, right? And so there is a lot still there that, I mean, it would take lifetimes for archaeologists to continue to dig and see what else is out there. So, but definitely one to keep in mind if you're heading that direction. The others, let's see, this right here, it's very hard to pick one image for this, but this is the city of Bukhara. This is what I'm intending for what it's worth. This is a mausoleum, which would have been a school at the time. Basically, Bukhara in itself is one of the most intact medieval cities in Central Asia. And so it really is like the city itself is a museum. There's over 140 buildings that are still standing that date back to various times, you know, various medieval time points. So I wanted to show you that this is also a wonderful city to visit. This woman, I wish I knew her name and could tell you her name, but I apologize. My dog is apparently opening the door in the background. But this woman is a perfect example. They have these beautiful bazaars that are actually in the madrasas. They're kind of like repurposed. So they're in these very ornate historic buildings, but she's doing traditional work. And what she is holding up there is a Susanna, which is basically an embroidered, they could be pillows, they could be curtains, blankets, etc. But the style is called Susanna, and she actually works to hire other women and teach them these crafts. And then, of course, they have kind of an income and things like that. And obviously, that's something we're passionate about supporting. So I love this photograph of her, but that is the type type of thing you can find if you want to go find very authentic souvenirs that, of course, have that tradition to them as well. Let's see here. I think I got one more for you guys. Oh, okay. So the last one, obviously there are two photos here as well. So this one in the corner, let's see, let me make sure I have the name right, is Ismail Samani Mausoleum. So obviously there are quite a few mausoleums, as you can see. But this one is very cool because it actually dates back to the 10th century. And it is that specific one, I don't mean to confuse things, but that one is actually located in Bukhara as well. So most of the buildings you see in Bukhara are give or take like 300 years later than that. And so this one somehow managed to stand the test of time through the Genghis Khan, attacks and whatnot. And so it is really neat. And it's also just because it's kind of a city museum, if you will, it's kind of just in there with all the other ones. And it just kind of humbly sits there in the garden space. And you could walk right by it, not realize that it is just significantly older. So highly recommend you find that and go check it out. The other one I wanted to mention though, and again, I'm trying to get the names as best I can pronounced correctly, but it's Bahauddin Naqshband Memorial Complex. This is actually on the tentative UNESCO list, but it also was by far one of my favorite places to visit. It's about 10 kilometers outside of Bukhara. And maybe it's just the drive and you get a little bit away, but it is just this beautiful religious complex. It's insanely peaceful. When you walk in, there's like just this archway of trees and it's very, very peaceful. I can't say that enough, but it is also not very visited by tourists at all. So pretty much anyone you see there is just a local that is practicing their religion. And it's actually dedicated, Bahauddin is effectively the seventh Sufi saint. So that is who it is kind of memorializing. And they started building it after his death and then just kind of continued throughout various centuries. So it's kind of just been added to and added to. The little, I guess, I don't know what you'd say. I want to call it a box. The little box right here is a well for what it's worth. But walking along the, the sides and everything of the atrium, it's just absolutely beautiful. And I mean, it just gives you such a sense of peace. You can kind of just feel the peacefulness that they I think are going for there. So those are my four, or I'm not sure if I got more because I added extra pictures, but those are mine. So.
That's great. There were just a couple questions I want to get to
Oh,
while you're still with us.
Sure.
With the Greece monasteries, there were some questions around how do you get up there?
Yeah, I meant to actually cover that. Actually, so the one that I'm in that you can't see here, basically it's just stairs. It's just stairs literally up the side of the mountain, if you will. I mean, as long as you can do stairs, like you should be fine. I believe they had like ropes. It's not like you're not going to slip and fall and like fall off the mountain. Let's put it that way. But it is a lot of stairs. And they are a little bit narrow, but I think anybody that's comfortable doing stairs would be just fine doing that. So
Great. And with the ones in Uzbekistan and whatnot, there's questions about could you go inside? Is it possible to go inside all those
actually,
mausoleums?
every one that I showed you, yeah, we went inside every single one. Obviously, they do want you to, be respectful and do the head coverings at most of them, if not all of them. But yeah, it was actually really surprising to me how many you could go in, and most of the time, whether it was kind of more of a touristy location or not, most of the time there were locals there that were just kind of practicing their religion, and you could just kind of walk in and sit and listen to them do the, I guess, chants or prayers or however. It was really quite peaceful, honestly, like at all of these places. So even when it was busy, that was just kind of a very respectful, like reverence for what was going on. So highly recommend.
Sounds beautiful. Oh my gosh, Uzbekistan is on my list for sure.
I literally can't stop talking about it. So.
Okay, we're gonna go over to Katharine and get her spots for women travel abroad.
Shit.
Okay. Okay, are you all seeing my screen? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Well, first, this is a photo of a group about 2 years ago now, almost, exploring the Douro Valley in Portugal. And so I love this photo for many reasons. It's just the most incredible landscape. You can see that the entire valley around this river that flows from the inland parts of Spain and Portugal all the way out to the coast on Porto is just covered in different vineyards. And so it's an incredible place to eat and drink and have really tasty wine, but it's also the oldest consistently existing region of vineyards in the entire world, which is what made it a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And that history, the fact that for thousands and thousands of years, people have been cultivating very specific types of grapes in this region, just makes it all the more fascinating. And so while Lisbon gets most of the focus when you're going to Portugal, Porto, and then either taking a train or sailing up the Douro River into the valley is incredible, and you learn a ton about the history in addition to getting to taste and drink lots of wines. So if you ever do go to Portugal, it's well worth spending a day or two in the Douro Valley and learning more about sort of the connection between the people of Portugal, the land, and winemaking. You don't always, Portugal is popular for wine, but I honestly thought wine was, would be more something in Italy where the oldest vineyards had existed or something like that. And in fact, it is Portugal. So that's a fun fact. Another place that I love to mention is in Ireland. So Boyne and New Grange are sites in Ireland that are actually older than the pyramids in Giza or than Stonehenge. I think most folks, when they think about, Neolithic prehistoric sites in the UK and Ireland, they're going to think about Stonehenge, but definitely do not skip the opportunity to go to New Grange. It's a really incredible place because it's a really spread out. Stonehenge, if you go, it's very interesting, but the spot is like, there's the rocks and you can't get very close to them anymore because they're starting to be affected by how many visitors they get. And so you can sort of stand and take a photo, but at New Grange, you can actually walk through these passageways. And so what you see up here is basically these mounds of earth that have been lifted and built onto these rocks. And people back in, the stone and iron ages. So let me check my notes and tell you exactly how long that is ago. 3100 BC is when this started to be built. So long before they had, any form of wheeled vehicles or anything like that. These were all hand carved. These stones were moved by hand to make these ritual spaces. And at different times of the year, in the domes, which you can't see from the bottom, but you can when you're inside, there are openings. And the people that lived in this area would be able to tell what time of year it was and the season by how much light was coming into these passageways. And there's one particular passageway that is perfectly illuminated on the winter solstice. And then at another site close to New Grange, there is a place that's perfectly illuminated on the summer solstice. And so this was part of how these people were able to tell the time and the seasons throughout the year, was how much light was coming into these passageways. And you can actually walk through these areas. You see the stones, you see these hand carved areas. And it's just a really, really incredible opportunity. You can actually still touch the stones. And you can get much, much closer to the history, I think, than you can at many other sort of Neolithic sites in the UK and across Europe today. So I definitely recommend it. It's only about 2.5 hours from Dublin. And so you can very easily do it as a day trip, or if you're making a trip north from Dublin to see, say, the Coastal Causeway, and then looping back down around through Northern Ireland back to Dublin, which is the route we take. It's definitely worth stopping to see these incredible rocks. Another place that's probably my favorite and closest to my heart is Essaouira, Morocco. And this is a town that's on the Atlantic coast of Morocco. It is really fascinating because it's been inhabited and colonized and conquered by all sorts of different historical kingdoms. It started with the Carthaginians, and then it became a Portuguese fort. It then became French. It finally became Spanish, and then it finally became part of Morocco. And it has these walls, and you can see they're fortified walls that have been used to really protect from the very rough seas. So this part of the Atlantic coast of Morocco is very exposed to winds. And in the winters, it gets very, very rough seas. And the entire city is basically surrounded by this fortified wall that both was good for the protection of the city back during the Portuguese and French colonies, but it also really helps maintain this historic Medina, or the old walled part of the city, from damage by large waves as they roll in during the winter months. And it's just charming. I think, again, Morocco gets most focus on places like Fez and Marrakesh, which are absolutely worth visiting, but Essaouira is a much more laid back town. And so if you are looking to go to Morocco and you want to spend 3 or 4 days by the ocean and you want to get a feel for a more local version of Morocco that's not full of tourists and that's going to be a much more relaxing experience in these Medinas, you'll still have the chance to shop. You'll still have all the incredible different pottery and different fabrics, all of the artisan crafts that Morocco is really famous for. You can still get them in Essaouira, but you're not going to be fighting the same hordes of crowds and just the same intensity that you experience when you're in the Medinas of Fez and Marrakesh. And so I really enjoy Essaouira, and we always end our Morocco trips with Women Travel Abroad with a day in Essaouira so that the ladies can get a view of Morocco from the ocean, but also just enjoy a more relaxed shopping experience. And the one other really unique thing that you can get in this region of Morocco, there's a tree called Thoya wood, which it's a tree that only grows in this part of Morocco. And it is pretty much any wood you see, like these doors, anything that you see in the Medina where there's these really beautiful carved wooden archways for doors and for windows, that's all made with Thoya wood. And it's really special. It's this really beautiful red brown color, and you can get all sorts of carved wooden goods. And so I have a little table that I brought home from Morocco that's a hand carved wooden side table, and you can get little figurines and just really great handicrafts. So that is another reason to visit that part of Morocco. You can find those sorts of wooden crafts in other cities, but they are actually originally from the city of Essaouira. Another one that I like to highlight in a country that we all hear a lot about and that I think is a top tourist destination, but this is a bit of an overlooked UNESCO site, is the Cradle of Humankind in South Africa. So this is just 20 minutes outside of Johannesburg. And for a long time, it actually held the title as having the oldest human remains ever found. And so hominins, which are the direct sort of evolutionary precursors to humans, they have existed in this region of South Africa for over 3 million years. And there are these caves that this mound here that you're seeing is covering the caves and the entrance to the caves. And you were able to walk through the caves. You can see the different paleontology sites where they have uncovered the different hominin remains. They've actually found the remains of 15 different individuals, and they believe that this was a small city that had multiple different families. And in this area, there were children that they found. They found actually a preserved umbilical cord that you can see at the museum there. They found skulls, they found other bones, and then you can also find cave drawings and the different art that the people who were inhabiting this area were using to sort of communicate and tell stories. And so I really enjoy, if you're going to make a trip to South Africa, especially if you have a day in Johannesburg, it's well worth going to this museum. It's very easy to get there. You can take a taxi. It's not even 20 minutes. It's a really, small museum that you can easily get through, and it has some great, really interesting archaeology, paleontology exhibits for folks who might be interested in sort of the evolution of humankind. And obviously, you can always just go on safari straight from Johannesburg. So with all of our groups, we always then fly from Johannesburg out to our safari, but we make a point of visiting this UNESCO site at the beginning of all of our South Africa trips. And I think it also acts as a good reminder. South Africa has really important modern history around the apartheid movement, the anti-apartheid movement, and the entire more recent history of South Africa is incredibly, I think, important to learn about, but it is a region of the world where our ancestors have existed for millions of years. And so I really appreciate getting to connect not only the more modern history, but also the more ancient history of South Africa through visiting this site. And finally, Iguazu National Park, which spans both Argentina and Brazil. This is actually the largest waterfall system in the world, which specifically means that in terms of individual falls, there are actually 275 cascades that span the Argentine and Brazilian borders, and you have the opportunity to see it from both sides. You can walk on these platforms, which I don't have pictured here, but you can actually walk out over the river where they've built these platforms. So you can get really up close and personal with the different cascades. And you can actually take a boat if you're someone who is okay with choppy water and getting a little wet. You can get on a boat, you can go up and sort of sail through some of the clouds of water vapor that rise at the bottoms of these cascades. It is genuinely awe-inspiring. I have been here and to Niagara, and while the sheer drop of Niagara is impressive, when you go to Iguazu, you are surrounded almost 360 degrees by waterfalls. And I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that's quite that experience. I have absolutely loved seeing it. And it is, again, a short flight away from Buenos Aires. And so we are headed back here in July of this year. The other great thing, and part of the reason it became a UNESCO site, is because of the biodiversity. So there are 400 species of birds. There's, I think, over 200 species of mammals that live in the jungle around the falls. This is a coati, which is kind of like a raccoon, but in South America. There are toucans, there are jaguars, there are capybaras, all sorts of wildlife. And just as you hike and walk through the waterfall regions, you're able to see a lot of this wildlife without, having to go very far off of the trails. And there is also a really beautiful bird park where they're doing a lot of conservation around all of the different endemic bird species that you can see on the Brazilian side. So I always recommend, come spend at least 2 or 3 days in this part of, usually people stay on the Argentinian side. So you can, spend 2 or 3 days, really explore both the Argentinian and the Brazilian side, take some time to enjoy the wildlife and just spend beautiful days in incredible nature. So those are my favorite 5 UNESCO sites that I really recommend people get the chance to visit as they consider future travel.
Amazing. I love all the water. This is great. Okay, Isabel, we're going to travel to Spain. We've been all over the world now. and we're going to head to Spain. And I want to mention that we recently did a survey with Spain where we surveyed Canadian solo travelers. And Spain ranked very, very high on recommended places to go for female solo travelers. So yeah, I'll put the link actually in the chat so you can all take a look at it. But over to you to tell us about Spain.
Okay. Are you going to share the presentation, maybe?
Do you want me to?
Caroline? Oh, I can try also. Wait.
Okay. So give us some feedback while you're waiting. Anything popping out for those of you on the call, starting to get some ideas?
Now it's fine?
Yes.
Yes?
If you just put it on present, it'll probably fill the screen.
Which one?
Present. That button down at the right there.
Sorry, yes. Now?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so in Spain, we are really very lucky because, as you say, we rank some of the top 5 destinations in the world with the most UNESCO World Heritage sites. We have historical monuments, cultural landscapes, historic city center, and natural parks. I don't know why this is moving along. Sorry. So we are very lucky, and we have very many different, I don't know why, Caroline, because it is like doing alone something. Sorry. It's moving alone by himself. So Spain is, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. So we have 50 sites inscribed on the World Heritage List, and Spain is one of the 5 top countries. We have natural heritage, cultural heritage, and what we call mixed heritage. No, they are sites that combine both natural and cultural elements, such as Ibiza, for example. And the very important question in Spain is that we have a blend of cultures. And it makes that Spain can bring to many different centuries like Iberians, Romans, Visigoths, Moors, Jews, and Christians. And each of them have led their mark shaping in the country. So they blend, they coexist and enrich each other. For me, one of the most beautiful symbols of this blending in Spain is the Great Mosque of Cordoba. The Mosque of Cordoba was first built as a mosque during the Muslim rule, and later was transformed into a Christian cathedral. So instead of destroying the original building, the new builders respected much of the Islamic architecture, and today, when you walk inside, you can see the beautiful Islamic arches, but also the Christian chapels together. So this is really a true reflection of how different cultures live side by side in Spain. And well, of course, in a session like this, we have also to talk about other beautiful sites that we have in Spain, like the Alhambra, the iconic of Islamic art, the most visited monument in Spain, and one of the most visited monuments in the world. But we also have amazing Gothic cathedral as the Holy Family in Barcelona, also with the Art Nouveau of Gaudí, and Roman treasures like the Roman Theater in Mérida. We will also see something about Mérida later. And as I say, Spain ranks the 5th in the world for the total number of UNESCO World Heritage sites. However, when it comes especially when we talk especially about cities, we are the only country in the world with 15 World Heritage cities. And when Caroline, before the presentation and also at the beginning of this presentation, when she told us about her wall covered with sticky notes, I thought about this map, and I thought that maybe I could bring something similar to you today. So today I bring you these 15 World Heritage cities that we have in Spain. And I would like also to show you that you can get to this city by train, also by car in some of them, and of course by plane from Canada to Spain. But you can arrive to Madrid, and then from Madrid, you can go to each of these World Heritage cities. We have 15 cities, 13 of them are in mainland, and 2 of them are in the islands, because 2 of them are one in Canary Island and the other one in Balearic Island. So if you have time, you can, for example, spend 1 month in Spain or maybe 6 weeks in Spain, and you can visit all the 15 cities. Of course, you can also go in different times, and you can do like 5 cities each time. But you can very, very easily go from one city to another by train. In Spain, we have the most high-speed trains in Europe. And we have one thing that they're very interesting also for tourists is the Renfe Spain Pass. You can choose the number of trips that you can want to make, like 4, 6, 8, or 10. And also the type of seat that you want to travel in standard or comfort. And you can travel when you want. I mean, you can buy this ticket, and then you can spend the holidays and go from one city to another step by step. So you can also visit the different cities. And as you can see now, maybe in 1 hour, 3 hours, or 6 hours is I think is the longest trip. You can visit, you can go from one city to the other one. And let me show a little bit about these different cities. One of them, when you are in Andalusia, is South Spain. You have 3 cities that are World Heritage sites. The first one is Cordoba. Cordoba is one of the oldest cities in Europe. And Cordoba not only has a recognition as World Heritage City, is also recognized by UNESCO with other 3 inscriptions on the World Heritage list: the Mezquita, the ruins of the city of Medina Azahara, and also the patios. Patios are very interesting because they are recognized as intangible World Heritage. Each May, the patios are adorned with flowers, and it's really a beautiful experience to go there. And then we have also Úbeda. Úbeda is like the core of the Andalusian Renaissance. There you can also find the great hotel Parador, housed in the magnificent 16th century palace. This Parador holds the distinction of being one of the oldest in the chain. And very, very close to Úbeda, you have Baeza. Baeza, in fact, if you are traveling to both of them, you can travel by car because it's like half an hour. And is one of the, Baeza is one of the first also example of Renaissance in Spain. And both of these cities are also in a very, very nice place because they are surrounded with olive trees, and you can also visit some different olive oil productions, and you can, of course, taste olive oil there. And then north of Spain, we have Santiago de Compostela. For sure, many of you know Santiago is the final destination of the Camino de Santiago, the Pilgrim Way. The monumental Plaza del Obradoiro is an impressive Romanesque cathedral, and well, the historic city is very safe, very friendly, And it's really an option for all budgets. You can visit the cathedral, explore the historic center, and also meet pilgrims and enjoy walking routes. One of the things that all these cities have is that in all of them you can drink really very, very nice wines. You can eat in amazing places, and you always find like good vibes in Spain, and in special in these cities, because they are cities very nice to walk and very friendly. And here you have also Castilla León. Castilla León is a region very close to Madrid, North Madrid. And there in Castilla León, you have 3 World Heritage cities. The first one is Salamanca. Salamanca is a university city full of life. It's Baroque style and has a Plaza Mayor, is in the heart of the city. And it's really very famous, this city, because it hosts a very famous writers also. And the Casa de las Conchas is a building decorated with more than 300 stone shells. And Salamanca has also a very impressive Art Deco and Art Nouveau museum. And then we have also Avila. Avila has one of the world's best preserved wall with 2.5 kilometers around the city. And Avila is also very well known because the mystical center, because it was the center and the city for Saint Teresa, who was not only born here, but also spent the majority of her life in this city. And then we have Segovia. Segovia is, I think, maybe half an hour from Madrid by the high-speed train, very close to Madrid, and is well known for its impressive Roman aqueduct. This from the 1st century, and is it's 700 meters, and Segovia is a city with a great cultural events and nice quarters, also like the Jewish quarter, and has also an impressive Gothic cathedral. And then if we are in Madrid, close to Madrid, because it's the province of Madrid, we have Alcalá de Henares, very famous for the 16th century university. It was the birthplace of Cervantes and Quevedo also, and is especially nice for walking and taste the tapas. And also very close to Madrid, we have Toledo and Cuenca. Cuenca is the perfect blend of nature and culture, a city between 2 beautiful rivers, very famous for the hanging houses, now housing also the Museum of Spanish Abstract Art. And it's really a very, very nice city to explore. And then we have also the Roman heritage in Cáceres, Mérida, and Tarragona. Cáceres is really an explosion of different cultures to have, because it's a contemporary also center with the contemporary art center, but it preserved historic center has been used filming or location also, for example, and it's really an amazing city to explore. And Mérida is the Roman city for excellence in Spain. Today, it conserves numerous monuments from its Roman heritage, like the amphitheater. The amphitheater is one of the most beautiful amphitheaters in the world. The circus also, and the aqueducts. And in Mérida, in the night, for example, you can also enjoy different theaters, different vibes, and it's really an amazing place in Spain. Not very well known, but it's really very, very, very good place. And then you have Tarragona. Tarragona is also Roman, And it was the first city of the Roman Empire established on the Iberian Peninsula during the 3rd century before Christ. And it's a perfect place also for holidays. Also, you can go to the beach in Tarragona. You have 15 kilometers of beaches there. And is yes, very close to Barcelona. And then continuing with beaches destinations, we now travel to the islands finally. And we have 2 islands that are also World Heritage sites. One of them is Ibiza, and the other is San Cristóbal de la Laguna in Tenerife. Ibiza is very, very well known because of party, but long before was very famous for this special place because it was the old town is from the 16th century, and the walls are really impressive. And Ibiza is one of my beautiful places, and really is a very nice place to discover. Not for going, not for going in summer, but for example, in winter, it's really nice. The weather is very nice also most of the time. And for me, it's a must-see destination in Spain. And then we have also in Canary Island, San Cristóbal de la Laguna. It was founded in the 15th century. And La Laguna became the first capital of Tenerife and a model for city planning in the America. And it's home the first university ever built in the Canary Islands. So let me now end the presentation with a short movie about these beautiful cities that we have in Spain. I hope I can play the video.
For a lifetime of I love yous, 2 hearts, 1 beat. You whisper to me, be mine forever and ever, for a lifetime, forever.
All of these were so inspiring. Thank you, all of you, for these wonderful ideas. Are there any questions that that you have that we could? I'm just going to put everyone on spotlight here. That we could. Whoops.
Now.
Let's see. All right. Any questions that you have about these sites? I think, boy, I don't know about you all, but my bucket list just got a little bit longer listening to all of these great places. There's so many I haven't been to, and you know, you start to think you're working through the list, but all of these were new. So thank you all for being here and for sharing these. And I look forward to hearing from all of you what sites we sparked your interest about, and we will send an email with links to everyone's website so that you have it. But thank you all for being here. Thank you for these great presentations. Just amazing.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Have good nights.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.